For 50 years, this remote village in the Italian region of Abruzzo was abandoned, a run-down ghost village. Now it's a very special hotel, and not just one individual building, but half the entire village. The conversion of this former lost place into a village hotel cost around 10 million euros, and there are no new buildings at all. The old was to be preserved everywhere as far as possible, just like in the good old days. Along with the tourists, normal inhabitants have also returned. They've repaired the run-down houses that belonged to their families. The hotel operator's mission: bring the village back to life. The hotel guests should live door to door with the real inhabitants and get to know the old Italian traditions. In a baking course, for example. 2 days before, we set off for Santo Stefano di Sessanio. We want to know, what's it like to live there as a guest? First of all, you go to reception, just like in every hotel. Here, it's in a former cattle shed. Hotel director Nunzia gives us the key, probably the biggest in the world. We'll be meeting Nunzia later. Our rooms are in this converted outhouse. Obviously, we want to check them out first of all. The old outhouse is now a suite with a living room and 2 bedrooms. It costs about 500 euros per night, but there is no trace of luxury. It feels like you've travelled back in time. There's no television, radio, or a minibar. You won't be able to find anything made of plastic either. Even the light switches are the old-fashioned ceramic type. Some things seem strange to us. The shower gel, for example.
Kind of flaky, like it has gone bad somehow. Almost broken, or what do you call it? Yeah, broken sounds good.
Look at the bed.
What is this?
We're sleeping on a wooden board.
No slat frame or anything?
Nope.
That's pretty rough, isn't it?
In the truest sense of the word, because the mattress is not much softer. But that's not all.
Do you see any heaters in here? Nowhere. The nights are freezing cold up here. We're at 5,000 feet.
Well, this really feels like time travel. Our hotel village is not the only one in Italy. There are about 80 of them. This type of alternative hotel has a name: Albergo diffuso, translated scattered hotel, precisely because the hotel is scattered over many buildings. The most important feature, an albergo diffuso is not newly built. It consists of old buildings that have been renovated especially. They must be located in an old town and may not be more than 300 meters apart. Structural changes should be kept to a minimum. New buildings are not permitted. The idea came up in the 70s when many remote villages in Italy were abandoned by their inhabitants after earthquakes, or because of lack of job opportunities. At the moment, however, the alberghi diffusi are becoming a tourism trend. Even large tour operators are planning to rebuild run-down villages. But our albergo diffuso wants to offer even more than others. The guests should get to know the real Italy of old. Financier and owner Daniele Kilgren has even higher goals. He's put almost his entire inheritance into the hotel project, and it's been a financial success. At the moment, he's in Africa as a development worker, so we can only speak to him on Skype. I believe it's important to show that it's possible to earn money with such a cultural project. We all, whether Italian, German, American, English or Japanese, always think that business and culture are two totally different things. But that's not true at all. And then for me, it's important to make money in an ethically correct way.
Io faccio economia con un senso etico.
When Daniele is not around, Nunzia is the boss here. Although until recently, she had no idea about the hotel business. Nunzia was a scientist at a museum. Because she knows about history and comes from the mountains here, hotel owner Daniele offered her the job as manager. Her most important task? To make sure everything is and remains as authentic as possible, like it used to be, right down to the scent in the room.
This is actually one of the secrets of our hotel. Before a guest arrives, we use this special room spray which we have developed especially. It smells of chimney embers and citrus fruits. That's what it used to smell like here.
Because people used to throw lemon peel into the fire as a natural room fragrance. The spray uses no chemicals, just like everything else here.
As you can see, we've really paid attention to every little detail and researched every part and every product carefully. Our soaps are made exactly the way the housewives used to make them, from beeswax and olive oil, without emulsifiers, without artificial fragrances. This also applies to the liquid soap, of course.
This explains the apparently broken shower gel. It's not gone bad at all. That's simply what soap or shampoo looks like without chemicals. The hotel beds are also intentionally made the old way, hard and with woolen blankets that take 2 months of handicraft to make.
The beds in the past not only used to be harder, but very high, as you can see, so that poorer people could have their cattle lying underneath them, which worked like a heater from below. And because people were also smaller then, they used this wooden step to get into bed. Guests can also do that in our house.
Nunzia shows us her favorite suite because it demonstrates most clearly how people used to live in the past.
Here, for example, you can see the black sooty walls, which are typical for the area because everyone used to heat with fireplaces here. We left them black, although everyone said we should paint them white. Another thing about our conservative restoration work is the small windows. We deliberately left them so small. They used to be made so small because we are in the mountains and it gets very cold. The only new element, as you can see, is this designer bathtub. It resembles an old washing tub.
But the expensive designer bathtubs in the rooms aren't the only luxury we discover when we take a closer look. There are elegant fittings, minimalist design lamps, and to the relief of our freezing cold team, underfloor heating everywhere, even in this former sheepfold.
On that floor without underfloor heating for €150 a night.
I don't think there's any underfloor heating.
Wait, you think? Yes, there is. They told me they lifted up, put the underfloor heating underneath, and then put the original floor back on top. That's right, that's why it's €150 a night.
We also discover the well-hidden controls for it. So not everything is exactly like it was 100 years ago. Otherwise, the guests would probably stay away.
Our project is best received by Northern European tourists, both English and German. Italians too, but they often criticize us, for example, for the hard beds. But anyone who comes here actually knows our concept. But if you expect a normal hotel with typical luxuries like a minibar and TV, then you will be disappointed. But fortunately, that doesn't happen very often.
The hotel operators are particularly proud of the fact that many real inhabitants have returned to the village thanks to the Albergo Diffuso. We're going to see if we can find any. And we come across this cafe. The operators are eager to show us how coffee was drunk in the good old days, before fully automatic stainless steel machines appeared everywhere. The brown cream is sugar whipped with coffee. This is used to grease the cups on the inside. Then, hand-ground espresso is poured into the cup. On top, very sweet whipped cream, not foamed milk.
It's really tasty.
We ask cafe owner Massimiliano what he thinks of the albergo diffuso. It's great. Our medieval village was completely forgotten until the tourists came. It's only thanks to them that it was possible to find work and live in such a small village again. In her wool shop, Valeria shows us how she dyes sheep's wool red with local wine, just as it was done here for centuries. She's also a great fan of the hotel project, and no wonder. She has increased her turnover tenfold in recent years, and she likes the tourists who come here.
The typical tourists who visit our village definitely want to get to know how we live. And sometimes they are even willing to get a real feeling for our way of life.
Getting a real feeling for this life is exactly what we want to do now. Sheep's cheese and wool used to be the main sources of income here, and shepherd is still a respected profession. Therefore, it's part of the hotel's program to go and visit the village shepherd Mimi and his family, a welcome additional income for him. It's very hard work. There are no holidays, no days off, nothing. You have to be born for it, otherwise you wouldn't be able to do this work. It may look easy to you, but it's not. It's almost more difficult than being a doctor.
Oh, man. Oh.
We notice that when we try to milk the sheep. Milk only flows after Mimi massages the udder.
Ah, I can do it.
Ich kann's.
Soon, the poor sheep has had enough.
It's all right.
In the end, the milk is enough for a small sheep's cheese. For this, the shepherd's wife adds rennet to the heated milk, a natural enzyme that causes the milk to curdle. After an hour of work, the cheese made from our self-obtained milk is ready.
Tastes like sheep.
Immediately afterwards, we're off to a hotel baking course in a rebuilt original kitchen. Instructor Gabriela is also responsible for the hotel breakfast. In her baking courses, she teaches guests how to make the typical Italian flatbread focaccia. I think I'm doing something wrong. But it's not even that difficult. The dough consists only of flour, water and yeast, and lots of olive oil. Focaccia has also become very popular in Germany. In earlier times, the thin, flat bread was only used to test whether the wood-burning oven was hot enough for real large loaves of bread. So focaccia was actually just a kind of byproduct from this test. After only 20 minutes of baking, our focaccia are ready. The instructor is satisfied with us, or at least she says she is.
What did she say about ours? Beautiful. Is she just being polite? No, she's being honest. The work is so positive for me because you can live here in peace and quiet. It's not stressful work. You're not stuck in traffic jams like you're in the city, for example. And your whole life is pleasant and quiet.
A life so very different from what most of us are used to. Our impression after 2 days of time travel in the former ghost village? Here, they've killed 2 birds with 1 stone because everyone benefits. Residents and hotel guests. Even our initially skeptical sound engineer is convinced.
Sebastian, now be honest and don't lie. How was it?
It was great. I slept really well, despite the hard bed. I didn't miss the TV, and the food was fantastic. It's a very different hotel.
With underfloor heating.